Welcome back to our countdown from 5 to 1. This is the final episode in our top 100s of all time, and we're just going to jump straight back on the horse, straight to Sarah. Take it away.
5.
Okay, my number 5 is On Mars, which dropped a couple of places. But
Jeff.
I think that's because
Stay with us, Jeff.
he looks
Like he's going to murder someone.
Eyes look
I
like
wasn't
Arnold
expecting
Schwarzenegger
that.
when he's on Mars in Total Recall. They're like poking out his face.
Oh my god!
What a tragedy.
It might go up and down,
Tragedy.
but
It's a tragedy. It's a
This
fifth best
is
game out
the
of like
worst.
1,000 she owns.
the worst
And
thing
that's
that's
a
happened
tragedy.
to Def all day. Yeah, so it has dropped a tiny bit, and I think it's probably because I haven't played it as much this year, maybe. Because when I got it, I played it a lot, and we actually played it not long ago, Def and I failed hard at it because I hadn't played it in so long. Because it's quite sandboxy, and you're trying to do all these things. I chose this contract that was like more challenging than a contract that I'd put out that I was going to collect. So I just did this stupid move where I picked up the wrong contract, and I couldn't do it. And there was a bunch of stuff I couldn't get done in the game. So, but even then, like, it's an amazing game. Like I said, you can take it different ways. You can do a different strategy every time you play. Still an amazing game, Def. Okay. I still love it, but it's my top 5 now. That's On Mars. And the expansion's coming. That might change things.
I
as well.
boosted up.
Somebody get Def a tissue.
My number 5 is probably like the perfect game for me because it's made of neoprene. It's totally waterproof. But amongst other things, it's the perfect game for me because it's pretty much a combination of an RTS and a MOBA/Dota. That is
Nice.
the uber complicated but so deep and so fun to play. Chip 3 games at Cloudspire. My
So
number
cool.
5 game for all time for me. It just I can't. It's hard to explain what makes this game so good without actually making it sound bad, because it has so much. It has so much depth to it that's so off-putting for a lot of people. But for me, it just means that there's so many opportunities to learn and get better at the game. It's got an incredible solo mode, and if you really wanted to, you can play the co-op mode solo, like you're just controlling 4 factions instead of 2. In the solo mode, and I know lots of other people have played this game and really enjoyed it on the podcast. It is steep to buy, but it's Chip 3 games. The production values are off the charts, and I love how much it reminds me of playing those Defense Against the Ancient games like Dota and League of Legends and stuff like that. So my number 5, Chip 3 games, Cloudspire.
Your comment reminded me of NPI's review where he said Cloudspire, 70% genius and 80% disaster.
Yeah. Okay, my number 5 is the game that's renowned for having more worker placement spots than you can chuck at them. At someone. Mr. Odin.
Yes.
Which I think, to be honest, it is probably, just looking at the other games on my list, any worker placements. No, it's my number 1, I think, true worker placement games on my list, where it's really all about just using your workers to choose the actions that you want to do. It throws into that extra mini game of the polyomino placement of all the bits and pieces that you get back to add back into your village. And that in itself is a challenge, which the way that it happens is brilliant because you can do that in between turns. So there's no downtime. You're still doing that part of the puzzle while everybody else is taking their turns. There's a ridiculous number of options in terms of what you can take. So you're never really missing out. You're never getting to the point where you're like, I really wanted to do that, but someone else is taking what I want to do. And now I have no choice but to do something inefficient or whatever. There's always other strategies, always other ways you can go. It's just really good. The theme is brilliant. It's obviously the Viking theme, but it's a bit of a different take on the Viking theme because, you hear Viking themes and you go, oh, everyone's going to have their swords and weapons and we're going to sail across the seas and, murder and pillage and whatever else. But it doesn't really have that. It's more about the farming, the exploration, you
Viking
do actually.
junk.
Sorry?
The Viking junk.
The Viking junk, exactly.
Leaving it lying
Pregnant
around
cows
everywhere.
and sheep.
Pregnant cows and sheep and stashing all your trinkets in your village. So yeah, it's a bit of a different take on the whole Viking theme, but it's a really fun game. Solo is awesome. It plays exactly the same. I just played 2 different coloured meeples, and yeah, it's wicked. So that's my number 5, A Feast for Odin. I got a feeling it might turn up on someone else's list at some point in time.
The guy that you have nothing in common with? Do you mean that, guys?
No, Mike.
The guy with the Uwe tattoo.
So my number 5, my number 5 and 6 kind of went like up and down, and my number 3 and 4 have done the same thing. They've had like their own little mini bracket battles, but basically it's Res Arcana. It just got played so much this year, and the expansion adds so much depth to the strategy in the fact that you can't just rely on having the pyramid card inside the monuments deck, because that could potentially have been shuffled out. So the entire monument deck could be filled with cards just worth 1 victory point. So you can't try and chase that 3. It's just phenomenal. Phenomenal. Everything about it I love. I love how it's easy to play. It can be fast. It can be quick to set up. It's got that game tray in it. The Orange Nebula, I would sure inspired their trays for Unsettled. Like the whole you just pull the tray out, put it down, deal the cards out, away you go. Yeah, everything about it I love. I love the componentry as well. Like I love those like little different pieces, the Alarn and the death and all that. But yeah, it's great. Fantastic game. I've never heard anyone really dislike it. One of you might look at me with wide eyes now like you hate it, but I haven't heard anyone that's really disliked it. So I think it's a great all-rounder. And I love the drafting element. Like the drafting element takes that game to a new height for me.
Yes, I love the drafting.
And how clever is it that you get your 4 and you draft the 4, then you don't even know what your other 4 cards are even going to be. So they might not even link up to what you're trying to do. But then all of a sudden you might have something that, goes into the deck that really works for you. So yeah, love Res Arcana. Phenomenal game.
Awesome. My number 5, like Mitch, my number 5 is the worker placement game. Coming from someone who didn't play worker games, I've got 3 worker placement games in my top 10. And of the 3, this is the one house, for some reason, I seem to be really good at, if I don't mind saying so. It plays really well. Not the fact that it plays really well solo, it plays well at 2 players, it plays well at max of 4. But when I play this game, it's just something really clicks with me, and I seem to know when the best time is to move your dice, when to collect cocoa, when to start getting the tiles and stuff. And Teotihuacan for me is just, I don't know. I'd never played anything like it before, and the more I play it, the more I love it. I've got a couple of the expansions. I haven't got all of them, but just the expansions add more to it. And I don't know. I mean, having played Architects and Viticulture, and this is the one that I don't suck as bad at as the others. And I don't know why that is. I just have a real affinity with the game. I love the puzzle of knowing what you want to do, but looking at the board, knowing that you can't do it in the way that you want to do it. Okay, because I have to go here, but I can't go there because I'm going to need cocoa to go there. So I got to go here first. And then by the time I go there, I probably don't need that cocoa. So you're always rejigging and on the fly adjusting your strategy to try and get what you want. And some of the things that Adrian said before about the tiles with the just the aesthetic of that in the middle of the table, and it has such great table presence as well. I'm sure, yeah, I've got many of you guys to thank for introducing this game to me, but yeah, my number 5 is Teotihuacan, City of Gods.
Very good. My number 5, you're helping to lead the transition to sustainable energy. You're actively helping to build the future of vehicles. You're running around in a factory like a mad person, designing, assembling, and testing electric vehicles. You have to prove you're worthy to the factory manager by mostly spending your nights training to become better. That doesn't sound as appealing all of a sudden, but it is. This is the second Vital Lacerda game in my top 10, and for many people, this is his best design, and that alone says a lot. Kanban EV has definitely the most straightforward and clean design of all the Vital games that I've played. And it does make you feel like you're actually producing electric vehicles. It is very strategic. It is deceivingly strategic, even on the sequence of actions and selections on the board. I love this game. Kanban EV is my number 5.
Okay, my number 5. I don't really know what to say to introduce this one other than some stats. It is my most played game of all time. And I was looking at my BG stats, and it is almost 100 plays more than the second most played game.
Mhm.
Like, that's how much I love this game. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And that is Super Fantasy Brawl. It's at a whopping 132 plays. I just adore this game. It feels so satisfying to try and play the mind games with your opponent and playing those reactions at the right time to block the one card they needed to stop you scoring the objective. I love the balance it achieves between a beat 'em up arena battle, but also trying to score objectives. You need to do both to do well in the game. It's not just straight damage. And that makes all of the champions feel powerful in their own way. I love trying different combinations of champions every single time. There's just so much depth in this game. I'm so excited for all the expansion content to come soon. And I just hope that Mythic Games keep building and building and building on this, because I hope to see tournaments in Australia. I'd love to participate in this. I think they're just getting started on this IP that they have. It's amazing. So that's my number 5, Super Fantasy Brawl.
Just one question there, Jules. You said you've played this game 132 times.
I have.
Is 130 of those are you beating Joe on BGA?
Poor Joe.
Not quite. But I'm glad you mentioned that. Like, a special shout out to Joe. I think we probably played 40 something games together.
Wow.
And it was really special. Like, both of us just trying different combinations of heroes all the time, just experimenting with the game. And it was really, really good. We kind of stopped because we were like, okay, I think we've done enough and life's getting busy as well. But it was just awesome fun. Really awesome fun.
Notice there's no special shout out for me, your teammate, like when we played that one time, we got our butts handed to us.
I remember that game.
That was a
You
close
remember that game, Dan?
I remember that game very well, Steve.
I don't even know.
Yeah,
what
it was like 7-6, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
very
I actually
close.
I talked about that before. I prefer it at 4 now. After that, like
Yeah,
I've played it a
it's
couple
good
more times
fun.
at 4, and I'm like,
It's
I actually like that.
Yeah, I would love to play the game more 2v2. It doesn't support that on BGA. But
Yeah.
heck yeah, I'll play
okay.
teams.
Yeah,
It was actually
I've
really
let
fun.
Jules
I
beat me a
enjoyed
few
it.
times on BJ as well.
Fair play. That's very good of you, Dan.
I was trying to help him get his numbers up. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking forward to that Kickstarter coming in eventually. That'll be good.
So good.
My next game is a game that I really do love. It's a game that the first time I played it, I played it on hard mode accidentally by getting a rule wrong, and I still won. I still won.
Wow.
It's the combo-tastic, rule-breaking, fantastic Whistle Mountain.
Yeah, nice.
So I absolutely love Whistle Mountain. I love that Luke Laurie had that same mechanic where you bring your ships back to also get actions. I love that, every time you play, you're going to get such a different mix of those those machines next to each other that when you land your ship in a certain place, you're going to be setting off all these crazy combos. I love that every upgrade you get breaks the game in a little way, and you can get 6 of them at once that break the game and make it just seem ridiculous. But while you're breaking the game one way, your teammates are breaking the game another. It's just chaos in a box, and you're drowning little meeples. It's sadly hilarious. It's such a weird theme, and that's something that engrossed me as well. Yeah, I think Whistle Mountain is a fantastic game. It's one that I'll always be keen to play. I'd love them to do an expansion with it just because I want more stuff in there. I don't even know what they do, but I don't know. I just want more Whistle Mountain because I think it's just so fun. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be stupid, crazy strategic. It's just a fun game. But you can do plenty of strategy as well. So that's my my number 5, Whistle Mountain.
Still one of the funniest games that we played at the retreat by far. Just all this stupid stuff happened and capped off with you coming to the realization that you played the game way more difficult than it needed to be.
So much harder. Still won. Yeah.
It was a great game for people who weren't playing it. It was still entertaining.
It was the 20 minutes of me wandering around crying
Yeah,
in
yeah.
every room because I couldn't stop laughing. Like,
So good.
So
I mean, it's a great game, Mike, and I really think the same as you. I would love to see an expansion for that.
Yeah,
just
for sure.
go bonkers with it. Just I don't know, Whistle Glacier, and have like the
They need to
snow
get-
peaks above it or something. You know,
I need to get Sydney Engelstein to come up with some ideas and get Luke Laurie to make it work.
Let's go
That's it.
Beatbox Hills. Like, that could be the next one. Whistle Mountain to Beatbox
There you
Hills. There you go.
All right, so my top 5 is there's a clear distinction between our top 5 and the 6 to 10. It wasn't difficult to break them up, but then from 5 to 1 has been extremely difficult. And this game is the 4th most played game ever for me, and over 180 hours of it. And I love this game to bits, and I've spoken about it more than any other game on the podcast. It is Scythe.
Whoa.
Oh, Connor called it. Down to
Wow.
5.
It's I had some sleepless nights over this because I've talked about it being the greatest game of all time for so long, but as has been the trend, it just hasn't hit the table this year. Every time I've played it this year has been a teach, and again, I love teaching, but I want to play the game. I want to play the game, you know, like, and I haven't had that experience since I left Cloncurry. So it's, and I've had better experiences with other games. So this is where I mean, it very likely could be back at number 1 next year if I manage to get it to the table more often. But this game,
Steve, it's okay. We forgive you.
My dog is howling like crazy. What happened?
Yeah.
I was
gotta-
going to say,
all the
where is
dogs
Steve?
are
What have you
different.
done with him?
this is me processing it, Sarah. This is for my own element. My number 5, the best game that Jamie Stegmaier will ever make, it is Scythe.
He's off the payroll now.
Yeah.
4.
Okay. So I'm supposed to sit here and tell you what I think all the other 8 hosts of the Board Game Barbecue have chosen for their top 10 games. Now, the first problem is I've got a short memory span. So I'm probably going to say games I've mentioned already because it's so much effort to go back and look at what everyone has said. But let's start with the worst. Let's talk about Mitch. Mitch, I've matched with him too much in this bloody thing already, and I don't really want to match with him more. We're probably going to match, or the one thing I'll agree with, he's probably got too many bones, or he's got too many bones in his top 10. We'll allow it. Too many bones is acceptable. He's probably going to go off and start going, dun, 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 dun. Who cares, Mitch? Great Western Trail. We get it. You have a song for it. Congratulations. I'm sure that made your list. What else you got on there, Mitch? Yeah. If you've got Nemo's War on your top 10, we get it. You like to play by yourself, mate. We get it. It's okay. There's a phone number I'm sure you can call for help, and we'll get it to you. The Board Game Barbecue cares. But his number one will probably be Too Many Bones, because that's the one really good game that he likes. So hopefully that makes it number 1, and you don't ruin it with Great Western Trail or Nemo's War. That's all I can say. Sarah. Sarah's going to have lots of beige in the top 10. Number one's probably going to be Aeon Zen or Mage Knight, I reckon. She'll have El Grande up there and lots of other beigey goodness. Which ones, I'm not quite sure. But I'm sure there's very little colour in her top 10, but a lot of gameplay. Dan's a tough one. I'm really hoping Dan brings it home and gets Marvel Champs into his top 10. That'll be really good. I reckon Destiny's has probably worked its way in. Seventh Continent might still hang around there because I know it's a big love of his. I reckon Chronicles of Crime. I think Mitch was saying they both really enjoyed that new version, so that might have snuck his way in there. But just give Dan some good story and the kid's going right. He'll love it. Roll Camera, if it's not in his top 10 yet. I reckon that'll made it. He seemed to really enjoy that co-op game. So I reckon those titles will definitely be in Dan's top 10. Once again, what order? I don't know. I'm just talking here. Adrian's list is probably going to look like a lot like Def's. They're just going to throw Lacerda at it. So, and if it's not Lacerda, Adrian's definitely going to have Barrage up there and Pipeline. And because Barrage and Pipeline are on there, we're going to have to cut a segment into 6 different episodes and, try to space that 8-hour rant over a few different episodes. Adrian's number one game, that very well might be Barrage. I have a feeling it's not. I don't know what will be. But if it's not Barrage, it'll definitely be one of the Lacerdas, I think. That's my guess. And Def is going to look like a lot like Adrian's. Pipeline, I believe he's already said, that I remember. But Def's going to be a big love letter to Lacerda as well. He'll see a lot of love here. Hopefully Def puts Too Many Bones up there as well. That's what I'm hoping to see. And I think what's that one he's been really enjoying lately? He's been really enjoying Pavlov's House and those sort of war-based games. That and potentially Age of Steam might get up there and work its way into his top 10. Once again, he may have said them already, and that's where I should start paying more attention, but I don't. So this is what we got. Jules. Jules is probably just going to write from 0, 1 to 10. It's just going to say Orange Nebula. Even though they have like 2 games out, he's going to spread it out over 1 to 10. Jules will definitely have Anachrony on there. Jules will definitely have not Too Many Bones. Cloudspire on there. Cloudspire will make its way for Jules. But yeah, those are the main ones. If he can somehow fit those 4 games across his top 10, that's what he'll do. But I'm sure he's beating his brain trying to figure it out still. Condog, Connor, you've got Marvel Champs up there, and it better be above Arkham Horror. That's all I'm telling you, mate. Don't go putting Arkham Horror living card game above Marvel Champs. You're just going to break all the hearts, and nobody cares about Arkham Horror, except for you. So, I know it's got to be on there. I know, but just don't put it above Marvel Champs. Do us proud, Connor. What else are you going to put on there? What else have I been playing lately? I should pay attention to these things. I don't know if Clown Age made it on there. I don't think so. Condog. What else do you have on there, mate? I don't know. You're a tough one. Yeah. Those will be on there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to stop pretending to know because I'm not sure. You got me stumped, Condog. I'm just stuck on Marvel Champs and just really hoping you don't mess it up by putting Arkham Horror on top of it, mate. Stevie Boy. What's Steve putting on his... Steve's the hardest one because he just really loves these numbers things. Like, look, number one is still probably going to be Scythe. That's always going to hold a close part in his heart. And, has he said Gloomhaven yet? Because I know Gloomhaven's always going to be special, even though he hasn't been able to play it. I think he might have actually said it. Steve. I didn't prepare for this. It might not be relevant. It might not be noticeable, but I I didn't prepare a lot for this. Steve, what else have you been playing a lot of? Well, you got to have Marvel Champs up there too. If you don't, you're going to let us all down, Steve. I reckon Smartphone Inc. got up there too, because you absolutely love that game and been smashing it out. I don't know. Good question. Your top 10 will be interesting. Oh, Dwellings. Dwellings has got to be on there. You got to have Dwellings. It'll be if you don't smack one of your pieces on the table as you say Dwellings, I'll be very disappointed if I don't hear a little miniature do a roar. Yeah, that's probably where I'll leave it though, because I'm not quite sure. I don't think no. That's where I'm leaving it. Because once again, I didn't do a whole lot of research. Oh no, what am I talking about? Uwe Rosenberg. Steve, Uwe Rosenberg is going to finally make it onto your top 10. I don't know which one. I think Hallertau and Le Havre. Once again, you may have said them already. And this is why research is a good idea. But I don't know. But this was impromptu. Hope I got some right. Except for Mitch's. I don't really care because he's got it wrong anyway. So it's fine. Good luck, everyone. I'll see you out there.
Okay, so my number 4. This is a game I've spoken about umpteen times. And like Adrian, I'm going to lump it all together. It's Aeon's End. Yeah, so I'm just going to, it's kind of a game system. So I'm just going to put it all in one basket, even though the legacy version is such a cool place to start. And everyone always asks me where to start with legacy, because it's really cool how it introduces things slowly and things like that. I think it's the best deck builder out there. And I want to talk about something that I haven't really mentioned before, I don't think. And that is that at the start of each of these games that you play Aeon's End, each boss battle, you feel like all these horrible things are happening to you and that the boss is way more powerful than you, and you can do next to nothing really at the start, because you just start with nothing, and it's so stressful, and it's like you have to get good scrub but like really quick. And I think that is one thing I haven't really talked about, how stressful that is, because like you've just got nothing. You've got like a few dollars or not dollars but crystals, and you've got like a couple of spells that do 1 damage. You're just hopeless basically. You're like throwing pebbles at it or something. And yeah, it's so stressful trying to just build that deck and get something really amazing happening. And there's also, you got to open the breaches so you can cast the spells. It's not just buying cards. There's all these other things you got to do to be good. And it's just brilliant. It's just fun every time. I love the game so much. That's my number 4.
Something else as well that we didn't say. I love that they have hard mode for all the bosses.
Yeah.
It's a hard mode, and that adds a massive layer of like problems, which I really enjoyed that.
Hey, save some for me.
So I was just going to say, on that note, some of the nemesis are so difficult that I just think, how is anyone playing this on the increased difficulty? How are they doing that?
Well, my number 4 game probably has a fair few similarities with that. But when I first heard about this game, I cheered, but my wallet wept. This game was always going to be like crack to me. And I just knew I was going to have to buy every single thing that came out for this game, hands down.
What kind of crack? Is it Marvel crack or Arkham crack?
It is Marvel crack.
Oh, the good stuff.
Marvel champions.
No, Connie, stuff like you haven't said Arkham crack yet, so Marvel can't be said yet. You're wrong order.
So, children, let me finish. The reason why I love this game so much is actually probably the reason that I was a little bit miffed about to begin with, which is the aspects. So pretty much what happened, without sort of summarizing it, I just thinking initially it was actually going to be a detriment to the game is actually its biggest benefit because of the simplicity it provides. So it really narrows down the cards that you can potentially choose to put in your deck, which I think if you're learning to play a deck builder or something like that, or a deck construction type mechanism, it just makes things so much easier. Having the pre-constructed decks just makes things an absolute joy. Hey, you want to play as Ant-Man? Here's Ant-Man's deck. Hey, you want to play as Captain America? Here's Captain America's deck. Want to play as Hawkeye? Right, Steve? Here's Hawkeye's deck. And similar
Hawkeye's
to what deck. And similar to what Sarah was saying about Aeon's End and the bosses you have to fight, the villains each have a hard mode, and then there's an expert mode and heroic. It just changes things up. There's so much replayability, and it's so simple to do because of how the cards are grouped. I just adore this game so much. And kind of like what Steve was saying, it could have fallen anywhere. Like it could have been my number one game. Which just if I was just taking it in this year and how much I played it, it really could have been my number one game. It could be next year, who knows?
Cool. Okay, so my number 4 is a game that is so good. The Beatles wrote not one, but 2 songs about it. Nemo's War.
Of course.
About
wanna
that
guess what the
specific
song-
board game.
This game, The Yellow Submarine, Octopus's Garden, right here. Yeah, Nemo's War. It's a solo-only game. It's shines as that because that's what it was built to do. So many games these days are multiplayer games, and they say, "Oh, we'll make it so you can play it solo as well." This game was made out of the box to be played solo. It's a big solo game. A lot of solo games are sort of smaller, sort of on the scale of things. This one is big, heavy, lot going on. Solo game where you follow the path of Captain Nemo and you travel around in the Nautilus, around all the oceans around the world. You can choose different ways that you can play. You can go with the military and go to take down as many ships as you can. You can go exploration and go looking for things. You can look for historical artifacts. I think there's about 4 different what do they call them, Dan? Motivations.
Yes, motivations
that you can use in the game.
That's what I play it.
If you've ever wanted to have a real crack at a really solid, heavy Euro type solo game, then check it out. It's brilliant. My number 4, Nemo's War.
Now I'm a big time solo gamer. Might try it myself.
Yeah, I think you should for sure.
This one, my number 4, is the controversial pick of a couple of games with the 3 and the 4 slot. I really struggle with it, and I made myself play both games just recently to try and kind of confirm for me where they sit. And On Mars is my number 4. I love On Mars. I think it's a fantastic game, great design, super sandboxy. You have avenues to do all sorts of different things. I love the component tree, the look of the game. I think it's great. It's a phenomenal game. And it's with the expansion just around the corner. I'm really excited to try that, see what that will do for a lot of the game. It's very interesting. It's up there with Vital's best games. And I think it will be for a while. I think it's got that sandbox element that the other games don't have, that I think is why that game will stay there for many years to come. So,
you know, I think it's funny. It goes to show how much we love all of these games, because Adrian's talking about the 4th best game, and he's talking as though he feels bad.
Yeah, it's like it's
Just for
controversial.
putting it as number 4.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we all think these games should all be equal number 1, probably.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
My number 4 is actually my number 3 from last year, so it slipped down 1. But having said that, I've actually played it more. In fact, I'm playing it right now, not as we speak, but I'm in the middle of the Dunwich Legacy campaign. So it's Arkham Crack.
yeah, baby.
And one thing I really love about this game that I started exploring this time around as I go through my oath is to work my way through the whole cycle. But what I did for a change, because the first time I played it, I just went with the standard deck that it came with, and this time I decided to actually pick which investigator I was going to use, and I had a lot more cards at my disposal to actually build my deck, and I really enjoyed that part of it. Even though I knew very little about what the cycle was going to happen, I knew roughly what the storyline was going to start with, but I really enjoyed the process of having a lot of cards to choose from to actually create my deck. And whereas the first time I played it, I just went with the base box, went with the base settings, and off we went, and loved it. So I'm loving it even more this time. So there's not much else to be said. I'm sure it'll be in my top 10 for a long time. And as I work my way through it, and then once I get done with, then I'll move on to the other ones. And Arkham Horror looking card game. It's brilliant.
Feel like Emperor Palpatine. Yes, good.
Yes,
yes.
good.
Just like
There's so many different elements that all just come together. I mean, I love a game that has immersive story, and this has it in spades. But I'm just more invested now because I've actually almost created these characters and what they're taking into this journey. So it's great.
Very good. My number 4. Start from your humble beginnings, using the most basic materials and tools at your disposal, and grow your civilization through evolution. Your culture, your science, your military might, to raise admirable wonders. And the best part, it does not matter if you win or lose this game. It does not matter, because at the end, you feel proud of what you've built. You feel proud of the civilization you have created, and it will be able to tell its own story. So this is, by any comparison you want to use, the best civilization game in the market through the ages, a new story of civilization. And if you, like some people here that I won't name, are detracted by its playtime, remember Rome was not built in a day.
But some of it was.
A few cobblestones. All right. My number 4. This is an interesting one. This is new to my top 10. It is my 3rd most played game of all time in terms of number of players, but it would definitely be 2nd most played of all time in terms of number of players. It is the game I have owned in my top 10 for the least amount of time, and it has smashed into the top 10, and that is the Chip Theory Games goodness of Cloudspire.
Yeah.
I fell so deep into this box, it's not even funny. I absolutely loved it. I smashed the solo campaign in probably world record time. I just played it non-stop. Thanks to the, I guess, COVID and working from home situation, I was able to do it in my lunch breaks and just play it straight away after work. Man, I need to get the rest of this game. I love it to bits. I may very rarely play this with other people because it is a beast to teach, but I've been having so much fun solo with it. It is amazing. And I just adore this game. It took me by absolute surprise. I expected to love it, but I didn't expect to love it that much. And yeah, that's it for me. My number 4, Cloudspire.
Definitely looking forward to trying that one. Definitely. My next game is the crossover I thought I'd have with Steve, and I have. It is a crossover, and it's a big box. It's the great goodness of Dwellings of Eldervale. I just love the chaos in this. It's just I don't even know where to start with this game. There's so much going on. I love that it looks so intimidating when it's set up on a table, but it's really not that hard. I love that, you sort of build your board out slowly with everyone else. And I love that monsters are chasing you around, and the absolute craziness of the dice battles is one of my favorite things. Last time I played with my little brother, I got 2 dice towers that I've 3D printed, and we did one die at a time at each other across the table. So it was like little fights we were having one at a time, and just built that suspense, and it just looks absolutely beautiful. I love that how many different factions there are, and they each have their own decks of cards that you can buy, and each one has its own advantage. And I haven't even touched half of them yet. So there's so much of this game to dig deeper into. And I don't know how you didn't mention it, Steve. Turning your little meeples into little dwellings with the little house.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I was leaving it for you, mate.
Amazing. The boards are fantastic. How many factions there are fantastic. I just love that there's so much to give in this box. My only thing I'm angry about is that I don't have the version with the noise bits that goes on the bottom. I'm just so heartbroken and missing out on that, and all the extra monsters. So if anybody's not using those bits, please send them this way. Not that anyone will.
Is that the only game that does that? Is that the only game in the world that has the noises?
I think so.
I think there's one that has mechs that with lasers and noises.
What
Keep an eye out for that.
Forget dwellings. I want the lasers.
So yeah, amazing.
Someone played that at the game day, and I was unpacking the box, and they'd left the bases on. So I'm moving the box, and it's so good.
So much fun. So Dwellings of Eldervale definitely made my top 10, and I definitely have not played that game anywhere near enough. So looking forward to more of that goodness. And that's back-to-back Luke Laurie games for me.
Yeah, nice. My number 4 is my number 1 Uwe Rosenberg game, and it's been mentioned by Mitch. I thought we might sync up at number 4, but we missed out by 1, and this is A Feast for Odin. It is just a delight. There are so many options, as Mitch spoke about. But even just having going out and getting more islands and forgetting about your main board is a viable strategy. There's lots you can do, lots of paths to victory, and it really is. It's a sandbox worker placement game. Because no one tells you how to get victory points. You can figure out multiple different ways. So A Feast for Odin, my number 4. Which before we start our number 3s, because that's when the points start getting really high for our patrons. Just a quick score check for them. Although I haven't added anyone who had me down for Feast for Odin yet, but this is so prior to Feast for Odin. Currently, the leader is Thomas on 13, followed by Jonathan on 11. They're the only ones in double digits. Now, that might sound good, but that just means that they've had a lot of games that aren't in our top 3. So all those multiplier points aren't going to happen. So we'll see how that one goes. But it'll get far more interesting as we get down to our 3s, 2s, and 1s. Let's do it.
Let's do it. The top 3s.
3.
Okay, and the last 2 guys are Mitch and Steve. So I haven't got much from Mitch actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to predict Mitch's top 5. I'm going to say that number 5 will be Hadrian's Wall. Number 4 will be A Feast for Odin. Number 3 will be Great Western Trail. Number 2 will be Flip the Dice Game, and number 1 will be Too Many Bones. And finally for Steve, I think it's going to be a Uwe Rosenberg and Shem Phillips Love Fest for him. Geez, my hair's terrible. But my big prediction is that Scythe has actually lost its number 1 spot to Marvel Champions.
Okay. So my number 3 game is a game that I have talked about so much, so many times. And it is Barrage. And I don't think it's going to leave my top 10 anytime soon. I still love this game. One thing I guess I haven't really spoken about too much is how much I love the map and how much how often I should say that I build something on the map and go, that was a silly place to place that. I should not have put that there. Why did I do that? And then trying to fix what I've done or something. and just how tight the map is, how much people can completely mess you up with the map. And we actually had a chance to play test a new map that's coming, which was awesome. I'm not going to say too much about that, but Simone talked about it when he was on the show. So I think I can mention it. So that will make it even more interesting. And there's just like every time I play this game, I love it more. And that's Barrage, my number 3.
No one had that on your top 3 from our community.
Really?
What?
And it was in your top 3
Wow.
last time, wasn't it?
I don't think it made it.
I think it was 4.
It was
Yeah,
it
right.
was close. It was
Yeah.
close.
Mm.
It basically swapped places with On Mars.
Yeah, right.
My number 3 is actually it's a crossover with Jules, and it, as many of you guys have said, has been a victim of COVID because it's just. I don't like playing it solo anywhere near as much as I like playing it with other people because I love seeing how other people learn to play the factions. I love just about everything about this game, from the art, from the mechanics, from the fights you have across the table, from the meta games that develop. It is Root. It's my number 3, once again, victim of COVID. I wish I could teach this to everybody I know so that they could have the joy of this game. As Jules said, it's a heavy one to teach because you can't sort of teach it in sections. You've got to sort of all go at once. I was very lucky to have lots of understanding people at the Brisbane Game Day when I taught it, but I hope that my enthusiasm came across. Speaking to Cole on the podcast was like a schoolboy dream for me. That was incredible. And you can just see where that's all coming from in his mind. And it's one of those games that I'll just buy every expansion that comes from it just to support Cole and the developers, because we need more games like this, whether you like it or not. It just goes to show you how far games have come when you've got a game like Root on the table.
Someone got 5 points for that one. And there was a fair few 3 points going around.
Okay, so my number 3 is a game that when we started the podcast, I was already into this game, and I think it was pretty much, somewhat lesser known. It was very hard to get. I think it was part of the problem. People didn't know much about it. And I was singing its praises to the rafters, and I'm really proud of it because from there, I feel like I know that within this group, everybody's played it. I don't know anyone who says they don't like it. And it's even had a bit of its own life that's spread out throughout our community, where people have jumped on board, and lots of people now, since the second edition has been released, have jumped on board and are really, really enjoying it. I haven't heard too many people, apart from Connor, who, when it turned up on his list earlier, badmouthed the solo mode, but we'll forget about that and move on, because we all know that it's a game about fish. You better get some fish. Complete the dice game.
Very good.
The mother of all of these heavier roll and writes, it was sort of the first one to come out that had that sort of thing where there's a bit more to it. There was a lot going on. The combo tacticanism that it has is fantastic. Maybe surpassed by Hadrian's Wall, but obviously at number 3 on my list, I still enjoy this game a little bit more. And I don't see it moving out of that spot for a while. So my number 3, one of the greatest roll and write of all time, Fleet the Dice game.
You know what? I felt bad that I used the H word to describe the solo mode once I said it. So I'm sorry, Maddie. I'm so sorry. I don't hate it. That was me. I was just all rummed up. That's what it was. And I was just
Rummed up.
It's just Captain Ruth does get pretty frustrating at times, Connor.
Yep, he is ruthless.
But, she does a great job at what she does.
and makes no bones about it, I'm sure. But,
We added it to our latest pledge for the On Mars expansion.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Because we love it as well. It's so good. It's so accessible and playable. It's great. It was taught twice at the game day by MJ to 2 different groups because people wanted to try it, and it's got great like reviews from all the people that tried it. So it's a good game. So my number 3 is Kanban EV. Now it jumped ahead of On Mars, which is the controversial thing. But hey, David Turtsey said it and no one complained. Everyone was, he can say it. He's allowed to say it and no one goes, "You're mental." Like, everyone
I wasn't there.
True. I think that game is more of a traditional worker placement style as opposed to a sandbox style. And the meetings and stuff and how that all works and how you get the upgrades for the cars and how they combo with all the different scores and the different cars that you build, I just think is genius. It's a phenomenal game. It's really streamlined. It's really fun. It's just different. And I like that it's about a AI system or a system in place to try and make cars be built more efficiently, and you're playing that role and you're trying your best to be as efficient as possible to get as many points as you want. It looks phenomenal on the table. That whiteboard is very unique looking with all the sort of tracks and mechanics behind it. I love the shifts. You can kind of spend extra shifts to gain extra actions. Yeah, I just love everything about it. So Kanban EV.
Excellent.
Such a great game.
Mm.
My number 3 was my number 2 last year. It's only slipped down one place.
Wow.
But Seventh Continent still strong for me. It's probably the best adventure story for me. I still liken it to playing a choose your own adventure. In fact, when I started, because I was playing a bunch of it as for an oath earlier this year, and I decided what I would do, having seen a lot of people on BGG doing it. Because I got the full the Kickstarter when it first launched, and it came with a journal. So what I've started doing is I started actually making notes as if I was actually an explorer on the island.
Yeah.
And I mixed it up and started doing another curse, and it was one of the curses that came later, which they say is an easier curse to do, and it can put you in random places. And so the first time I did it, I started in a completely different island. I'm loving it, making notes and things. Failed the curse. Next time I tried it, I started on a different island, and the very first time I landed on the island, I went, I've been here, and I'm literally flicking through my notes, going, what did I write? What did I learn last time I was here? So I know not to waste my time putting my hand in that hole. Make sure I don't attempt to try and jump over those hot springs. Make sure I go and visit this cave. And it was just such a great experience for me, which is what I love about the game anyway. So I was really pleased that I'd gone to that trouble to actually, put a bit of effort in, so that it was so more rewarding when I got to that point in the game. And for many, many other reasons, Seventh Continent is my number 3. I can't wait for the Seventh Citadel to come out next year. Hopefully, if it's still on track. Seventh Continent.
Very good. I will invite you to join the Industrial Revolution in the UK. The second half of the 18th century or thereabouts. Establish your trade networks using canals, railways, compete with other, local business owners in a time where market demand was driving innovation and growth like never seen before in human history. You will, if you play this game, feel the struggle of the times and the pressure to make the correct decision, and the weight of that decision will haunt you for the rest of the future of the game. This is, in my opinion, the absolute masterpiece of economic strategy games. Martin Wallace's Brass Birmingham. It's my number 3.
Do you believe that no one in the community had that on your top 3? This is ridiculous.
Wow. What podcast are they listening to?
Yeah.
They're listening to Def's other one. That's what they're
Oh, that spin-off. I forgot about that one. All right. My number 3. I have talked about this game a lot. And to me, it just does so much with so little. Just 13 cards, being the center of that game, the greatest war game that I think will ever be, and that is Inish. I just adore the game so much. It blows my mind every time I play it. How is this game so good with 13 cards? That is it. The positioning, the strategy, the tactics, you don't need to fight. In fact, you don't want to fight sometimes. You're trying to negotiate some peaceful politics. It is just a masterpiece. It looks stunning. The artwork is gorgeous. The box is something else to behold. It is really stunning. I love everything about the game. I don't know what else to say. It's amazing. That's my number 3, Inish.
Very nice. My number 3 game, like I said before, Polyomino is a style of game that I really, really enjoy. And what better way to sort of celebrate Polyomino than pulling cats out of an ocean and putting them onto a boat?
Yes.
My number 3
Wow.
is Isle of Cats.
Wow.
I called it.
I absolutely love Isle of Cats. This game is something that Renato and I love playing 2-player. I love that as you're playing the game, you're not only just trying to get points, but you're trying to avoid losing points with this ship that has these rooms and such awkward spots that you're never going to fill them all. There is a card in there that gives you bonus points for filling the boat completely. And I'd love to hear from somebody that was able to do that properly. But with so many cards in the main deck, there's just always variable things that are going to happen and pop up. And it's just always going to be a different game. And with the new expansions that are coming, I'm going to have a bunch of asymmetric boats with all different shapes and sizes and rooms, and bunch of new content for the game. And looking forward to being able to play this game with 5 or 6 people, because that's going to be absolutely epic. The game has drafting, tile placement, polyomino. It's got everything I love. I think it's an amazing game, especially just trying to manage your fish. You know, you got this supply of fish, you're getting the same amount every round, and you need to use it to actually keep the cards that you want to keep and buy the cats. And it's tight, it's wonderful. Yeah, I absolutely love Isle of Cats. It's a beautiful game, and that'll always be up high on my list. It's brilliant.
Awesome.
My number 3 is actually the Feast for Odin was my 4. It went up 13 spaces, but this one has risen 31 spaces since last year.
Ooh.
Anyone want to hazard a guess? It's Marvel Champions.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, this probably my most played game this year, I reckon, and not just solo, but I've had some great experiences with my son. Had some amazing experiences at the retreat with some of you guys, and then later online as well. And just never fails. Always a good time. Yeah, Marvel Champions is just, it's a money pit, but I'm fully committed to digging that money pit deeper and deeper with every extra pack that comes. So Marvel Champions is my number 3.
So good.
And I thought I was going to get at least one of the 3 of you to cross over with me.
Oh,
Damn it.
no. It could have been anywhere. It could have been anywhere.
2.
Okay, so that's about it. We're going to get started. I better upload these to Steve before anyone accuses me of cheating. Just lastly, my top 10 this year. There's 5 from last year and 5 new entries. My bold prediction is that my number 1 is going to be the same as not 1 but 2 other people. Just put it out there. All right, have fun. See you on the flip side. Bye.
All right, here we go. Number 2.
Ooh.
So 2.
The runner-up.
Yeah, it's getting to the pointy end now. So my number 2 is Gloomhaven.
Yeah. Nice.
I still love this game. I haven't played it nearly enough this year, so I need to do something about that. I don't know if any of you guys played Warhammer Quest
Yes.
back in the day. Yeah, so Warhammer Quest had the most amazing system for character progression. It was like the game was not even the game. The game was going to the city and trying to at least go to the city, because you might not even go to a city, you had to roll for it. You might end up in a little village where you couldn't level up because you can't do all the things in the village. Anyway, the point is that the character progression in the cities was just so exciting. You had to go here and do this and do that. There's all these different things. And I feel like Gloomhaven has brought that feeling back to me. I love the character progression in Gloomhaven so much. And all that, just that in between the dungeon stuff, you know, like the road events and the city events. Okay, they're not super exciting by themselves, but just that the whole thing of you're not just doing the dungeon part, you're actually traveling around and there's, you know, and you're doing different things and you're visiting the town and you're leveling up. So what else can I say? The characters, I've said this before, the characters are all so unique and they're all different. They're not just, you know, a dwarf and an elf and a mage. And, you know, I love those guys, the classics, you know, the classic fantasy types, but this is just something special, you know, like when you play the Tinkerer, you are building your little robots and you're sending them out there, and you know, in the Cragheart, you're like made of rocks and you're throwing rocks everywhere. It's brilliant. I just love it so much. That's Gloomhaven.
Yeah, it's such a great world that it's new, but it feels familiar, and just everything works. It really is. It's a work of art. Like if board games were art.
Absolutely. Well, I think board games are art, and I think that Isaac just he so clearly poured his soul into the game, and it's amazing. Yeah,
I'll play it again.
Same. Oh.
I'll just give Steve a moment just to sort of, you know.
Yeah, I'm having a nostalgia moment now too.
Yeah, I've got 8 people between me and you, mate. It's all good.
My number 2, and this game, I think it was in my top 10 last year. I can't 100% remember, but it definitely has rocketed up my charts clearly because of how good it plays solo. It flips the script of the colonization of island nations, where the island takes it back. The spirits of the island takes it back. This game speaks to me on so many levels, from the gameplay, from the theme, from the emphasis on importance of the natives and things like that. Spirit Island may be for me the greatest puzzle in board games, having to work out what you need to do and how you need to go about it in an effective way, in a time frame that gets shorter and shorter as you go along because it gets tighter and tighter. It's that weird thing of you get more fight about you as the invaders get stronger as well. So it kind of comes to this great climax. The expansions add so much to it, including the event deck, and I love the fear mechanic. The fear mechanic is so good, scaring and that thing of the unknown, and some of the spirits just play so well with the fear mechanic. The card play mixed with the location of your presence on the island, that works really well. I love this game so much, and it has asymmetry in it, which, you know, just it's great. And all the spirits are so much fun to play. Once again, I would love to teach this to more people, but I think it has plenty of plaudits as it already is. So Spirit Island is my number 2.
Alrighty then. So my runner-up at number 2, I don't think will come as a surprise to anybody, but already at number 2, and this game is about to be re-released as a second edition with a solo edition that it hasn't had yet. So who knows where this could be next time. And the greatest song in board game history, Great Western Trail.
What a surprise!
Great Western Trail. It has trains. It has cows. It has cowboys. Enough said. Number 2, unbeatable. It does have a little bit of everything. There's a little card deck building. There's a little bit of rondel action, selection. There's some track advancement. It's just a fantastic game. I won't go on and on and on about it because I do go on and on and on about it a lot of the times. But can't wait for the second edition. Can't wait for the solo mode to come out, and can't wait to see if this, with the new solo mode, has the legs to maybe get up another spot next year. We'll see.
Wow.
Pro Wrestling Trail number 2.
Sounds like a bit of an unbreakable thing.
So my number 2 this year is my second most played game, and that is Pipeline.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Just love it, man. I just love it. And I love how much that I've played it that I can see all of the weird intricacies in the puzzle in front of me. And it's another one of those games where I teach it a lot. Like I've taught it a lot of times. So it's really nice to play it with people who play it really well. But it's got some just the puzzle within the puzzle is why I love the fact that you are just building those pipes as efficiently as possible and that you can run multiple machines. The most machines I've had is 3 running properly. I've done 4, but 4 didn't work for me because I stuffed up. But I've had 3 running really well. And yeah, just that. And then one time I might just have 1 machine. The next game I might just go, oh, you know what? It's better that I have 1 machine and run something completely different. So yeah, I love the game. I love just the puzzle within the puzzle. That pipeline thing that you have to do. I just really enjoy that part of it. So
I remember after we showed you the game, I think it was you, Connor, and
Jules and I.
Jules. Yes.
Yeah.
And a few days later, you've had played it many times and sent you a message, hey, Adrian, how do you like Pipeline? And you kind of went a bit secretive on me and said, don't tell the others, but I think I like it more than Barrage.
yeah,
And that was a big deal because Barrage was, I think it was your first kind of
big game.
Yeah.
True love.
Yeah. It's the thing that I find hard with Pipeline is that it's hard to find people that have played it that many times. Just like a lot of these games. It's just the way it is. And I've spoken to Ryan Courtney in private at great length about this. He struggles to play it too with people that have only played it 10, 15, 20 times because he can just outmaneuver and structure those pipes to perfection that well that he doesn't get as much enjoyment playing it because he's just played it so many times. But yeah, it's a phenomenal game. I love it. I love the Ian O'Toole layout design. I love that every pipe is individual. So now that I know that was another big step. Like sometimes I'd be looking for a double. I'd be like, oh, where's another one? There'll be another one. I got to try and find it. And then being told, oh no, that every piece is unique. I was like, right, well now I know. Now I know not to look for the same ones because it's not possible. So yeah, it's just great. And with the expansion around the corner, and then the other stuff that's potentially coming out in the future, possibly looks even more crazy. But the expansion just flips the game on its head. You thought you had brain burn before playing this thing. This new expansion that's coming out now is mental. So yeah,
I'm so excited for that.
I know. Yeah.
Alrighty, my number 2, my runner-up for my best games of all time. Not much more to be said about this game that hasn't already been said by Adrian and Sarah. It's the Mage-tastic Aeon's End, and I'm counting the Aeon's End as a whole. I think when I had it as my number 1 last year, I'd only played a couple of games online with Sarah and then also New Age. So since then, I've played and completed Outcast. I've picked up Legacy and started introducing it to Jack and Jen as well. It's come down one, I think maybe just a victim of COVID or just not being able to get out and play it with anyone else. And also because number 1 is bloody good. But yeah, it's still as good as it ever was. I can't wait for the new content to come out, but also I was trying to think of something that you guys didn't discuss. And one thing that I really enjoy about it that we don't touch on enough is the turn order deck, because as much as I agree with everything you guys said about you're pretty helpless at the start until you build up a deck, build up an engine where you can do things. That turn order deck, I liken it to the event deck in Pandemic, where you just don't, you get to a certain point where you just don't want to turn it over anymore, because it's just going to completely screw with everything that you've got in place right now. And particularly if it happens at the end when you've got double Nemesis and then you got to shuffle it. And please don't be one more Nemesis card, because I don't think I can handle another one. I've got something I need to get out, and it's just going to completely crap all over our plans. I have really enjoyed playing it with Jen and Jack, so playing it the 3-player, because it really does sing at having multiple mages and being able to have different abilities or bounce off each other. I mean, Jack just likes to just cast spells. So that's fine. I'll be the healer. I'll be the guardian. I'll be the tank. You know, I'll do whatever it takes so that we can all succeed. I know that there are a lot of people who like to play it true solo, but just playing it with just one mage, I really can't see how it would be nearly as enjoyable as having 2-3 mages all working together to attack these nemesis. Still an awesome game. Aeon's End. It's my number 2.
Right, story time. I was asked about this because of my background with cartography in a previous podcast we did, and I said that humans are explorers, and they always have been from the start. They explore new worlds, and that has shaped our species. We all share the passion to discover new places, see new things. It's in our DNA. We can't deny it, you know, whether it's a new room for a toddler, a new playground for a child, or a new country as an adult, or a new planet, independent of age.
New park bench for Mitch to sleep on.
So colonizing Mars has been one of the most, if not the most prominent theme in all science fiction literature and movies, and not without reason. The flame, I guess, of exploration and desire to reach beyond our grasp, to take that extra step. And when I play this game, I 100% feel like I'm there. I'm on Mars, building a colony to expand humanity's reach. So this is why Vital Lacerda's third game in my top 10 on Mars is my favorite one, and it is my number 2 game.
No surprises there.
How's that summary? Like I hum a tune of an old 50s TV show, and Def just lays that out. It was beautiful, Def. That was beautiful.
It was very well put. Yeah.
Yeah, but Bonanza's awesome.
All right, my number 2, the runner-up. This was honestly a pretty tough decision, and I'm just going to say it. It's Vindication. And the reason it slipped from my number 1 is because when they announced the Kickstarter this year and explained the content that was coming, I was like, I haven't played the full game now, and I know that's going to change it, and I'm just waiting for it to come. I'm very, very excited to see how the flavor text they're entering into this system that feels like it's underneath there, underneath the actions that you've been taking the whole time you've been playing, is going to change and revolutionize the game. I love everything about this. Every game has felt different. I love the choices that you have to make in this game and try and figure out the efficiencies that are just not there and evident at the beginning. It's such a unique puzzle. That's what I really love about it. And I'm excited that they're adding story into that puzzle. It's just brilliant. Orange Nebula do some amazing stuff, but this is something really special. There's nothing else like it. So once again, I'm super excited for that extra content to come. And until it does, I don't think I can put it at number 1 because it needs it. And so that's it for me. That's my number 2. It's Vindication.
Very nice. My number 2 game surprised me at how much it grabbed me and how quick it ran up my list. Hearing some people in this very group rant about this so much, I actually almost think I bought it to convince myself I wasn't going to like it. Because I'm like, it sounds good, but there's just something about it I think I'm not gonna like. I don't know. It's probably not gonna be for me. I'll just grab a copy, just say I know it's not for me, and then I'll move it on. There's no reason to keep buying pack after pack and keep adding to this thing. Marvel Champions.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I don't usually like playing solo too often. But this game,
Steve.
I was chomping at the bit. And, you know, before I moved house, my housemate used to giggle at me because of me talking to myself and just being so amped. And, oh, I could do this and I can do this. And I love the game. It's so good. It's so fun when you just have different combos of heroes working together. And, you know, I don't even like playing online anymore, but playing online with you guys, being able to get actual cards out, and I can do this and strategizing for 15 minutes about what our next move is going to be. It's so exciting. I love this game so much, and I own a lot of it. And I still haven't touched a lot of it. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't tried a campaign mode. I'm savoring it because I've finally come out of lockdown, and I'm looking forward to playing with someone. Looking at you, Dan, you know, you love the game too, and we can knock out a campaign together. And it's one of those things, once again, to think I enjoy this game so much, and there's still so much more to experience. It's such an exciting thought. It's one of those games that sort of broke that idea that IP game is going to be crap. You know what I mean? It's an IP game that definitely smashes out of the park. And I still don't even play it the way it was really designed to be played, where you break apart all the decks and make your own deck. That seems like a lot of work. And I still don't feel like I know the game well enough to do that. I'd love to give it a try one day, but I need to do Steve's idea and buy a second copy of everything to pick that up.
It's just an idea. Just an idea.
I do not want to
Not
mix
financial
all that up and
advice.
put it back together again. That's so intimidating to me. I actually kept, you know, they give you the little decks and they have that one card that has all the cards in there. That's still in there just in case I decide to do it one day. But yeah, Marvel Champions. It's brilliant. It's really well done. And Connor's wrong because he put it too low on the list, and I reckon he's going to say Arkham on top of it, and he's wrong. So you haven't said Arkham yet, have you? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Have you said Arkham? Did you? No.
Might have been above the top 10.
Not on his list.
Wrong.
How did the four of us not sync up at all? I can't believe that.
I thought for sure we were going to.
Yeah.
So impressed none of you synced.
Wow. My number 2 is, it's like someone went, Steve's not a massive fan of economic games. How can I make an economic game that will speak to Steve? I need to find something. It needs to be an hour long. I don't want it longer than that. I want everyone working at the same time. And Smartphone Inc. It's gone up from number 7 last year. I'm getting teary. This game is so good. Again, it's another game that just gets better every time I play it. I actually played it at the game day on Saturday, and I was sitting next to Tristan, one of the regulars at our Brisbane game days, and he said halfway through the game, he said, "You know what? This was a 9.5 before I sat down. This is a 10." And I'm like, yep. And it so is. Every time I played this, everyone's had a blast. It's quick. It's simultaneous. Like it's tight. There's arguments. There's conflict. And it's all just putting cubes on a board. So good. Smartphone Inc. It very nearly got to number 1. It's just so great. So Smartphone Inc. is my second favorite game of all time.
I want to say, Steve heard that I bought a copy of this recently. I found a Kickstarter copy. What did you say it was, Steve, when you heard me buy it? Do you remember what the comment was? Your reaction? Probably didn't remember because it was so natural. He's like, "That's sexy." That's what he keeps saying to me. It's sexy that you put smart. I'm like, that's a new thing for a board game, but I'll take it.
I didn't even. Yep, that's obviously just a knee-jerk reaction because I don't remember it at all.
That's how passionate he is about this.
It's so if you have not tried it yet, please go out and do so. It's just be an hour of your life. Yeah, you may not like it, but yeah, if you like me, you'll have a friend for life.
1.
All right.
Here we go.
This is it.
Fun.
Drum roll.
Oh no, now my whole desk is rattling. Okay, so my number one has not changed from last year. I'm sorry if that's disappointing, but it is still Mage Knight. It's still my number one game. I'm not sure if it ever will be knocked off the spot. I'm sure it will one day, but Mage Knight, I think, is the perfect blend of a dungeon builder and a heavy Euro. It's an adventure game, but it is so mentally challenging as well, because there is a lot of complexity, and some people say there's just too much rules, and you know that there is that. It is hard to learn, but the squeezing as much as you can from your hand of cards and the mana pool and anything else you've got to work with, your crystals, whatever. It is so much like a heavy Euro in that you got all these things you got to do. This is what you've got to work with, and just crunching that out. It is like, if you like dungeon crawlers and you like heavy Euros and you haven't played Mage Knight, something is up. Yeah, I just love it. It's always a challenge. It's always so different. There's like, I don't even know how many, because I've got all the expansion. I don't even know how many scenarios there are to play. There's so many. And Mitch will tell you that it's the ultimate solo game, but it's also really nice to play with two as well. Don't ever play it with five. Never, ever play it. Never play it with five. Ever. So yeah, that's my favorite game. Still love it so much. Mage Knight. Woo, mages.
Sarah, have you ever played it competitively?
I think I have, but only once. I played it as a 2-player competitively. And we did have a little like mage battle at some point as well, because you can do PvP.
I think that would be really fun to explore. Yeah.
Every time I've played it, Dan, I've played it competitive. Yep.
Against
me
yourself.
against the rule book.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Hey, Connor, before you shoot your number one at us, it's a bit of a karma battle going on right now in the patrons, because we have a joint leaders on 47.
Ooh.
And they're the two heroes of the podcast. It's Harry and Draven.
Whoa.
Wow.
They are 10 points clear of third, which is Thomas. Still chance to come back, but it's pretty much a 3-horse race at this point. So
I was going to say, if Draven's not up there with the amount of data,
that's right.
Something's wrong.
He'll tell us if we're wrong.
Yes, exactly.
Are their number ones remarkably different?
Not a lot, no. It'll be interesting. I'll keep tabling it.
Yeah, that's not their fault. That's ours, because we're a bunch of predictable.
Oh yeah,
100%.
And I hate to break it to you, it's not going to change. My number one, surprising no one, will remain as Arkham Horror, the living card game. It's everything I've ever wanted from a card game, because your character grows as the cards grow. Anytime I feel like I'm falling out of love with this game, they release a new pack or release a new solo expansion, and I just can't. I have to get it. I can't. The new investigators, I just have to get them. It's a disease. It really is a disease, but it's one I will keep supporting. And shall we address the greatest aspect of the game, and that is the chaos bag. The chaos bag is by far the best aspect of this game. No, it's and look, I can totally, with a lot of these games, I can cop any criticism that they have, because there is Dan's got his chaos bag there. Here we go.
It's gonna be the
Elder Sign
-2.
Oh, that's big crap. But as you play it, and as you sort of play it more and more, and you discover more things, and you get more cards, and it becomes more punishing. I cannot get enough of this game, and it's one of those. I've spent more time constructing decks on Arkham database than I have played some games. So. If you ever want to have a life, don't get Arkham Horror Living Card Game. But if you are happy living a life of solitude,
tell me that now.
Yeah, and you love narrative, the emerging narrative, and the writing has just gotten better as the campaigns have gone on. And as they go on to, and the tough choice is just fantastic. So surprising, absolutely no one. I apologise to those who didn't pick it for number one for me, but that's your own fault. Arkham Horror, the living card game.
I was just picturing as you were talking, Connor, at Fantasy Flight headquarters. Oh no, Connor's slipping. Release another pack.
Oh, the Mythos packs.
Okay, number one for me. So my number one is not a game. Not a game. It's a way of life.
Yeah.
It's a world. It's a second mortgage on your house. It's Too Many Bones.
Yeah.
Too Many Bones. What can I say that hasn't already been said? It's a dice building RPG. It's, if you're into RPGs and that style of, character progression, skill progression, advancement, it just kicks it out of the park. The componentry kicks it out of the park. And, we're all aware that right at this point in time, they're running another Kickstarter, GameFound campaign for Unbreakable.
Mhm.
And to sit around in the community and to be on Facebook and the socials and looking at all of the people who are into board games. And look, I'm pretty sure most of the people that are into board games aren't sitting around on wads of disposable income. And yet there's all these people talking about really serious conversations about dropping $1,000+ on this game. There must be something going on there that's doing the right thing, right? Because you're not just going to shell out that sort of cash on a board game every other day of the week. So, this has got to be up there for anyone who's into that sort of thing. It's got to be up there near the top, I think. Again, I think it's another one of these ones that not many of you guys had sort of played when we got the Kickstarter, when we kicked the podcast off, but I know it showed up in a bunch of lists. Maybe not in the top 10, but it was definitely up there from the 100 down for anyone who listened through that. So that speaks volumes to how good this game is. It'll be number one for me, I suspect, for some time. Although with Unbreakable being the last piece of content, and they've said they're not going to be doing any more, it'll be interesting to see how long it holds that spot without any new content coming out. My number one game, and it's fantastic, and I might take it to bed with me tonight. It's Too
That
Many
got
Bones.
weird.
You're lucky, Mitch. You're lucky that your number one game, you've got Brad there to teach you how to play it.
But look, that reminds me, Mike, I was going to say, it's the game that I have the most, the best experiences with my son playing. That we really enjoy it together, and he enjoys it as much as I do, maybe more. He's better at it than I am. And that's just another thing that puts another tick in the box for this game for me.
How do you take my stab and turn it sentimental?
It's definitely a special game because we've got a group at the Brisbane Game Day that at every game day has played Too Many Bones for between 4 and 7 hours doing all of these massive expeditions. And I was in the queue getting my food and they were talking behind me and I was like, oh, are you going to get the Trove? And then one of them was like, yeah, I probably will. And I was like, respect, man. That is such a good move. And then he was, by the end of the conversation, was like, I knew I should be getting it. This is a great idea. Really respect someone that will buy that thing because it's at a phenomenally cool thing. But it comes at a phenomenally high price.
But it makes it all fit in a Kallax.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best bit.
Kallax friendly. You had me.
I don't have a Kallax, but I will have the Trove soon.
Nice.
You need to get a Kallax just for that.
I was talking to my brother about this, and it was like, well, why don't they do a cheaper version where there's no art on the sides? If you're going to slide it into a Kallax, you can have like the Kallax version, which would be cheaper. But I'm like, why wouldn't you want the art? Just for those random occasions where you pull it out. Ooh, fancy artwork.
Oh, look, a wooden box with art on the front.
So my number one is going to come at absolutely zero surprise. it's Barrage, but
Yay.
way.
definitely with the Lee Water expansion is an absolute must. And it was kind of cool because we got to speak to Simone, and after I'd played Barrage, I played it, I think, like 18 times before I added the expansion. Something like that, something around that number. And after playing the expansion now 25 plus times, I could tell it should be in there. You can't play it without it. And I asked him that. I said, like, was that supposed to be with the base game? Like, what happened there? And he said, yeah, it was supposed to be in the game, but we changed the minds like just before we went to print and stuff, because we felt it would be more accessible to a broader market if we pulled it out and added it as an add-on. And after playing it that many times, I could, like, Barrage to me can feel quite linear without the expansion. And with the expansion in, that just for me flips it on its head. It still keeps it like a web of ways to victory. And saying that, I taught the expansion on the weekend, and that very thing was happening. We were fighting for external works buildings, and then we were trying to not produce as much energy so that we would go first on a certain round so that we could get our workers on that external works building, because one of them, you just pay $3 and you can fulfill any contract that you have in your arsenal. So we were trying to buy the right contracts, trying to time it to the right spot. It was great fun. It was a phenomenal game. Sarah spoke as well. We've already played the next setting for Barrage, which is a whole new map, which I can't wait to actually play in physical form. I don't have another game that makes me feel like I do when I play Barrage. Like, I get excited every time. I love setting it up. I love playing it with people who like playing it. I just want to play it all the time. It's just a great game. It's just suited for me for some reason. And I don't usually like conflicty games or area control-y games, but this does have a high amount of area control in it, especially the more you play it. But yeah, there's been some definite moves recently when me and MJ have played a 2-player where it's just like cusp of table flipping time because of blocking early. And I mean, like, just the other day, I played it and I built all 5 of my base dams before the end of the second round.
Wow.
People who don't know the game, that's not something that you would usually do. I didn't make any energy for the first 3 rounds. So I was going on the minus, but because of the income, I was going up. And with the other incomes from my board, it was turning my wheel faster and faster. So there's just so many avenues to do different things in this game, and every time I play it, I feel like I can explore something different. I can buy a different technology tile that goes with a different asymmetrical power for my XO, and I can try something completely different that I've never tried before. So yeah, it's a great game. You know, it's climbing the ranks on BGG this past year like something crazy. So yeah, Barrage. Sorry, go on.
Did you win on that build all your dams early strategy?
Yeah.
Wow.
I beat MJ. It was a table flipper almost. I think she said, "I'm not playing this game anymore." Like, it was a bad one because it was like I couldn't put them anywhere because I couldn't afford to, apart from blocking her. So I was like, early game, just blocked her from all the water supply within the first 2 rounds, and it really cripples your engine if you're trying to build energy and trying to use the water, whereas I wasn't using the water. I didn't care for the water, just cared for getting my buildings out and trying something different. So
interesting.
Awesome. My number 1 is a brand new game to my top 100. I owned it last year, but I hadn't actually played it properly. I tried and failed miserably. But if you've been paying attention or keeping score tonight, you'll know that my number 1 is Marvel Champions, the card game.
Yes.
And it's funny because I've
Find
talked
the
about
flag, Dan.
I've talked about that. I thought for sure I was going to jinx with someone, but I'm more than happy that we had it as number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4.
Yeah.
The fact that for someone who prides themselves in loving games that have story, there isn't a lot of story that comes with this game on the surface. The story is in the playing. The story is in the interaction with each of the characters and the baddies. The story is what's the experience at the table. And the reason I put it above Aeon's End and Arkham is quite simply because the mages or the characters in Arkham, while they have a bit of backstory and they have a little bit of I'm not invested in the character. Whereas I've been reading Marvel comics since I was a kid, so I'm already there. You put Spider-Man and Captain America against Rhino or against the Wrecking Crew, and I'm already committed because I'm already bringing my baggage of my love of these characters. And each battle is the best parts of all the comics that I read. It's the best part of every sort of Marvel movie that is out there. And I really love the way that they've taken what is essentially the aspects in the Arkham game, and then they've applied it to these characters, but they all play remarkably different, and also they play akin to what their character is. So Iron Man gets stronger and stronger the more armor he has. Doctor Strange casts all these spells to protect the party while you're fighting the bad guy, and you get all these different interactions. I just love it. I think it's more accessible for me. If I was to say, right, do I want to play Seventh Continent, Aeon's End, or Marvel Champs right here, right now, I can set up a game in 5 minutes and I'm going. Whereas the other games take a lot longer for me to play. So that's why it's rocketed to the top of my number 1. And the last time I was playing it, Jack was sitting next to me and he was sort of looking at the cards, and I was trying to explain to him. And if I've piqued any interest in him, then this is going to be something that stays in my number 1 for ages. If I can get some father and son action on this, it's going to be brilliant. This will be our game for years and years to come.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Last one.
My number 1 game is Marvel Champions. I'm joking.
Stay in the light.
So when we talk about games, many times we see them as something we get really excited and hyped about, and then we buy them, and then we learn them, and then we play them, and if we're lucky, we'll play it again. If we really like and the game is really, really good, we'll play it a few more times, some of them many times. But somewhere in that journey, how many times have you kind of went, I've played this game enough, I have mastered it, or I've uncovered everything there is to know about it, there's not much else I can discover, it has no secrets from me anymore. So it's not as interesting anymore. And then the game runs to its corner to cry, and, to be left alone for months, years, gathering dust, and generally not matter. So imagine you getting thrown into a universe where you struggle for space expansion and advancement of your civilization among other species that work alongside you, but also against you. And imagine if every time you play this game, you discover something new about it, something that seems so minor in appearance, but can change the course of the entire journey. A game that has so many well-connected and intricate pieces that instead of getting less interesting after 40, 50 plays, it actually gets more interesting, and you want to play more of it instead of less. I don't know if such a game is possible because I only know of one. And Gaia Project is, for me, the ultimate heavy Euro in the galaxy, maybe the neighboring galaxies, I don't know, I haven't checked. The faction asymmetry in the game, in my opinion, is to be taught in game design schools, although I know nothing about game design, so maybe don't take my word for it. But combine that with a variable map setup, it will give you an experience like no other.
Wow. I still need to play this one.
Well said, Def.
You definitely do. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
My number 1. I don't know if I've ever explained the backstory of this game. And and how I came across it. So this was a game that one of my brothers bought because he's super into D&D. And he saw it on Kickstarter. He often buys a lot of those Kickstarters with the minis just for D&D. He often buys other board games because he thinks the miniatures look fantastic just to use for D&D. And this was one of those. And he got it, and I think by the time it arrived, he said, I've got so much D&D minis, I don't need more. And he gave it as a wedding present to my other brother. And eventually we got to play this game together, and it just opened my mind, and I fell in love with it because of all the promise it gives and all the systems that exist in that game. You've got heavy conflict. There's area control in some of the elements that are in the game. There's deck building, there's action programming, and it's just so much fun and chaos. It is Black Rose Wars. I love so much about this game, and I was so pumped this year when the Black Rose Wars Rebirth campaign came, and I was like, oh man, there's so much similar, but they've done enough differently, and they've made some tweaks and upgrades. I need it. I caved, and I got a lot of stuff. And the pledge manager hasn't opened up yet. There might be a few more things that slip in. And it's just amazing. I ache because I don't get to play this game enough. It's just... I don't think I'll ever actually explore the full depth of this game because there is such an immense amount of content. There's so many cards, so many decks to explore, let alone the combinations of those decks together. It's just amazing. Amazing. And yeah, the artwork's fantastic. The minis are some of the best in the industry. Ludus Magnus Studios does an amazing job with this game. It's something special.
The Invisible Man, he's sick. He's so cool.
So cool. I love the little sort of pop culture references here and there. It's just so good. It's
such a fun game.
It's got a bard.
It does. Has a bard school of magic that all the cards are named like puns after songs. It's so good. And I'm very excited to see what the new content does. And you can combine it with all the original stuff. If it didn't have enough content, it does have a lot now. So yeah, that is my number one. It is Black Rose Wars.
Very nice.
Very cool. My number one game is Nemo's. Nah, man. my number one game, combined with all the iterations, is the game that can crush me if it fell off my shelf. It's no surprise to anyone. I grabbed one off the box, but it's Zombicide. Zombicide's always going to be one of my top games ever. It might move off one day, I don't know, but as a cooperative game, is just so exciting to me. Like, I've talked about it plenty of times, so I don't want to bore everyone with the same old stuff, but it's always got you on the edge of your seat. It's that progressive game that you're always questioning if somebody's going off by themselves because you can't go there and protect them. It's a game that you kick down a door and you have to spawn zombies for every single room, and you're always scared what's gonna spawn in the room in front of you because there's going to be a runner that can run out and kill you straight away. How many of them is going to be? You just have no idea, and the game just follows you in the story and gets harder as you get stronger, so it just keeps up. I love that whenever I teach someone this game, they always say, oh, this isn't that hard, like there's barely any zombies on the map, and I'm like, oh, just wait it's gonna get you. Just remember that you said that. And I love that they also have many pop culture references, and each version brings something different. Like, I do love my new second edition. I think fantasy will probably always be one of my absolute favorites because, orc zombies being fought with spells and swords and shields, and man, it's just an epic game. It's awesome dice rolling. It always feels risky and dangerous. The minis look fantastic. The abominations are insane, especially when you get like the Green Horde horde box. There's some amazing things in there. Zombicide. I'm not usually one for Western theme, but I'm looking forward to the new Western theme one coming out soon. It's going to be great. Something different always comes with it. So I'd love to know what they do next after that one, and I'll probably blow a lot of money on that one as well. Zombicide will always be one of my loves, and that's it. Yeah, go Zombicide.
Nice one. I was wondering whether it'd still hold. I actually had in my predictions, I had that it might not be a number one anymore. So yeah, because I figured with COVID and you haven't played it. Yeah.
Well, I have barely played it. I've only played my second edition once or twice. Like I barely touched it because of the whole thing. But if someone offered me to play it right now, I'll go grab it. Like let's get it set up and let's have a good time. It's fantastic, and I look forward to playing a lot more of it.
My number one should be pretty easy to figure out from this point on. It is just a game that provides you with so many choices, and you go into it with a strategy that lasts about 2 turns, and then you have to change it because of the board state. And then you make a new strategy and you have to change that because of the board state. And it is one game that I will say that after I've played it a fair few times now, that I feel like I still don't know what I'm doing halfway through the second round. And then all of a sudden it all comes together in the end. And I always end up on a decent score, but I always go, oh, if I had one more turn, even though I'm doing well, it's like there's no such thing as an optimal play of this game. It is Teotihuacan, City of Gods.
Nice.
My number 3 from last year.
Awesome.
It's just such a great game. And it must be because Jules, Connor, Def, Adrian, and Dan all mentioned it somewhere on their countdown. And I'm pretty sure Sarah would have if she'd done more than a top 15, and Def probably would have. I know Def did actually. Yeah. So everyone who plays it seems to love it, and I understand why. It's great. Best T game, obviously. Best any letter game. Teotihuacan, City of Gods, fantastic. Well then, that's it. We've done it.
Yeah.
Well done, everyone.
Yeah.
Same time next year.
Same time next year.
Until next year.
I really enjoyed that.
Now, I will let you know that Draven had Tio at number 2.
Oh.
Harry had Tio at number 2. Draven had didn't have Black Rose Wards. Neither did Harry. So it all came down to oops, I've just lost it. It came down to Barrage and Pipeline.
Oh, really?
Was the deciding
I did
one.
something. I did a thing.
You stumped them.
And the winner by 2 points is Harry, 75
Hey.
73.
Well done, Harry.
Well done.
Well
That's
done.
great.
Proud new owner of a high five.
That's right. Somewhere in between a high five and a beach house.
Yeah.
Now, Too Many Bones, Great Western Trail, Fleet the Dice Game. He had your top 3 picked. He was the only person that had anyone's top 3 picked exactly in order. So
There you go. And I was the
There we
most
go.
predictable.
Get out of Mitch's head, Harry. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Go now.
So empty and easily accessible.
Okay. Well, look, firstly, big thanks to everyone who's listening. And I really hope you enjoyed the countdown. If you want to hear the rest of the countdown, if you are a patron, you get access to a lot of us counted down all the way from 100 all the way down. It's been an amazing few weeks. But it's all over now. Go out and try some of these games out. But just want to say a massive thanks to everyone here, the 8 of us. It was the 9 of us, sorry, the 8 of you. Just a sensational night, sensational few weeks. It's just been a dream.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jay.
guys.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.
I love you all.
Yeah, I just want to go and play. I think the cost still isn't the number one game I want to go and play right now.
Let's do it.
I just want
It's
to
a
play
bit late. It's a bit late
It's a
tonight.
smidge late, but yeah.
But we will. We'll
Yeah.
do it for
There you
sure.
go and pack up 10 games and box lids and get them back into the shelves.
Very good. All right. Well, we will thank you again to all of our sponsors, and we will see you on the next podcast. Have a great time. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.